Perfect. So Stanley Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by two-weight world champion, Dr. Lawrence Okolie. Lawrence, how are you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Just here chilling. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Two-weight world champion, as I said in the intro, looking to make it three in the not too distant future with a move up to heavyweight. Before we talk about kind of the promotional moves of recent times, why did you decide now is the right time to move up to the glamour division?
Well, I mean, one thing, it being a glamour division, is one, as you said, and then secondly, I think it's more so just the weight. When I look back at struggling to make the cruiserweight limit for so long, and sort of squeezing out performances. When I won the Bridgeweight world title, there's been a little bit of a, I don't know, it's been 6, 7 months since I've had a fight. I thought to myself, coming doing the same thing that I was doing at cruiserweight at Bridgeweight is just asking for a problem. So I'm walking around too heavy to kind of drop 20, 30 pounds to make the Bridgeweight limit now. So I just said it's time to go up to heavyweight. I'm big enough, strong enough, so let's go to work.
When you contemplate the challenge in moving down to Bridgeweight, if you decided to, how does your brain kind of fathom the fact that you were at cruiserweight for so long? It must seem like a mission impossible.
Um, yeah, well, I think when you get used to a certain type of suffering, you just become used to it. So like the stuff I had to do to make the cruiserweight limit, I kind of just it kind of just became a part of life, if that makes sense. So it just became a part of life. Um, but then once I realized, hold on a minute, like life's actually better when you can eat breakfast and you can drink thoroughly throughout the day, drink throughout training, just all the stuff that I wasn't really doing, and I didn't realize maybe how bad it really was. Um, when I had that camp at Bridgeway, I thought, okay, cool. The weight cut was nowhere near as bad, but it was I still had to cut a bit. And then yeah, as I said now, you know what I mean, I have to lose weight for this fight, not because of a weight limit, but just because there's a certain target weight that I'm trying to hit. But at least I could do it safely. So if, for example, it's just too much for me to make that weight, just chill and stop and just perform at whatever weight I get to. So yeah, I'm focused on just actually training to just training as opposed to just making weight.
And in terms of the timing of moving up to heavyweight, how much of an influence, if at all, was the Riyadh season emergence and all the heavyweight clashes happening out in Saudi?
Obviously, it's a factor because obviously you have to look at the chessboard. I'm just a piece in the boxing ecosystem, so you have to look and see. Okay, well, the same thing I did really with cruiserweight. I was cruiserweight struggling to make the weight, but I was thinking to myself, where do I fit in the heavyweight division now? There's AJ, Wilder, Fury, the ones underneath, Dan, Herg, like, so it's kind of like if I move up now, despite being a world champion, how hard or how long is it going to be to get to a world title opportunity? Because that's my thing. I started boxing for the love of the sport, and I just enjoy the sort of world champion, two-weight world champion, three. Like that's kind of how I want to not only just be seen. That's what I want to be doing. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I'm only now in the sport to kind of operate at the highest level. So anyway, so the Riyadh season is obviously it's great because people are getting big opportunities, big fights. For the first time in since I started boxing, all the top fights are happening. Without it being a great like we need a massive pay per view and build for 10 years. It's just like you and you fight, and then you, and then oh you lost, okay you box him, and oh you won you. So to put sort of with my sort of mindset or my approach to boxing, I think it works well because as any promoter or manager will be able to testify that's ever come across me, I don't say no to fights. It's like, and a lot of boxers say that, but then behind closed doors they do. But to me, I publicly say I want to fight. Behind the scenes, say I want to fight. Like do whatever. So I think that ties in well with the sort of way that Riyadh season and boxing's going at the moment, where it's like, okay, well, you two are good, fight each other. So there's no like sort of easy pickings at that level. So yeah.
And Frank Warren, who's your new promoter, I think he tweeted recently that he's got seven of the current, I think it was Ring Magazine top 10 heavyweights under contract, and obviously has a very strong relationship with the guys at Riyadh season. How important were those factors in deciding Frank Warren was the man to take you forward?
I wonder, am I in that or not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. So don't worry, give me a few months.
Soon come, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, soon come. Yeah, I think it's very important because to get the sort of world title, long story short, you need to box top guys to position yourself there. So if I went with another promoter, they'd have to chat to Frank Warren anyway to make fights happen. So I kind of wanted to get rid of that barrier. Secondly, if you just look at how they've sort of operated, so I've never worked with them before this point, but I can see friends of mine, I could see just the way that they've handled Dan Dubois, the way that they handled Fabio Wardley, the way they handled even the fighters British level, they really understand boxing, build fighters, put fighters in proper fights, and if they're able to win, they go on, and if they're not, then they rebuild. So for me, although I'm not really expecting any sort of rebuilding at this stage, you know what I mean? I'm in my peak years. Yeah, but still, regardless, they help with building. So we can make something happen as long as I'm good enough to win the fights.
And you were with Boxer previously, obviously Matchroom before that. Did things end amicably with Boxer? Would you work with them again?
Oh, who knows? You never say never. It just is what it is. I think um, it might be tough because I don't know how long I'm gonna, box for. I do know heavyweights do go on for a lot longer. However, I am, in my early 30s now, so it is a case of, I don't want to. As I said to you before, it's like I'm in boxing now, not for like just hanging around or whatever else. I'm trying to be able to compete at the highest level. And if I can't compete at the highest level, then I don't really want to be doing it. It's far too dangerous, and I've put in far too much work to kind of tarnish it based on staying in the game too long. So cutting a long story short, I don't know. I would work with them. Like, say they have a fighter. I mean, they've got someone like Okolie. You never know. But then in terms of like promotionally, probably depends how long I carry on boxing for.
I'm just trying to kind of assess whether how the relationship is because I know your trainer, Joe Gallagher, we spoke to him last week and he was pretty critical of Boxer, specifically around their treatment of Natasha Jonas, your stablemate. So just kind of getting an inkling of how that relationship lies for you rather than just for Joe.
Well, I mean, if they're a good promotional company, they'll be keeping a lot of fight. They'll have a lot of fighter attention, and they'll be getting fighters world title opportunities and blah blah blah. And if not, a lot of people are going to leave. So I guess only time will tell. My thing with them is, um, you know, I had a world title. Unfortunately, lost the world title. Didn't get the rematch that I was supposed to, but it's fine because I ended up getting a Bridgerweight world title. So it is what it is. My thing with them is pretty neutral. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. Now, moving up to heavyweight, one of the things people have been asking, because obviously you've got the frame for it, there's no doubt about that. One of the key components of your success at the lower weights was your punch power. No question, one of the hardest hitters, not just in the division, but pound for pound. How confident are you that will translate up to heavyweight against much bigger, more durable opponents?
I'm very confident. I said sparring in it, but as in like as I've been last camp, you know, I was sparring like it's been a while since I've been able to kind of like really get people. I know sparring's not for that, but it's been interesting that I've been able to really hurt people in the gym. Same happened in this camp, although it is a shorter camp, but I am heavier. So I think we'll have to wait to see on the day. Obviously, from all the ways that I can measure it, without getting a punch meter that says it's just from the impact on the pads, the impact on the bags, the impact on the sparring partners. I felt my power's actually gone up with the extra weight on my frame. Do you know what I mean? Um, but I'm trying to find a balance between like the explosiveness and then also output. So I found that obviously moving up, my output's kind of gone down a tiny bit.
Hmm.
but my power's gone up. So I'm trying to find a balance where I get like, can I keep the same output that I had a year, 2 years ago with the power? So we're just trying to, tweak training and tweak stuff to kind of get that because I will get there. But as of right now, punching power, yeah, I'm not really worried about that at all. I think anyone from like light heavyweight, middle upwards can hurt people way bigger than themselves. So it's the same thing. I think the main thing is being able to get the shot off because it's not about. See, with heavyweights, what I've realized as well, watching footage, being in there with them, whatever else, it's more so like they can soak it up because you got big arms, big forearms, big head. Like so, if you throw a shot and it doesn't hit clean on the chin or clean on the temple or clean on somewhere, they're able to take it better because they've got sort of bigger. I don't know what you call it, like just
Just the shell, yeah.
protection, the shell. But if you can, land the counter shot, if you can land through the guard, if you could there's ways to sort of still get the power shots off. So yeah, it's just about being a bit more accurate, a bit more meticulous with like where I'm punching and why I'm punching to kind of get it done.
And talking of, oh, that's it. All right, let's go. So back here with Dr. Lawrence Okolie, we were just talking. You were mentioning about your power translating up to heavyweight. In terms of sparring, are there any notable heavyweights at the moment that you've already sparred with as a cruiser or a bridgerweight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, on my uh, uh, over the last few years, probably out of that seven in the top, whatever, I'll probably spot five of them. We're talking, obviously Tyson Fury, AJ, Fabio Wardley, Dubois, Joe Joyce. Um, in case I forget any, most of the team, although he's still up and coming. Um, even like I say, even like not to be disrespectful, but the Jamie TKVs, the Francos, the blah blah blah. Like, yeah, like I mainly squad heavyweights anyway because they can sort of match me for like power and robustness, and like we can actually be in there having like the sort of 6 round spars where I wasn't able to get that with a lot of cruiserweights.
What did those sparring sessions tell you about your own potential to move up to heavyweight and what the challenges might be?
Um, I think it's just like heavyweights really do struggle with a good sort of mover slash puncher. Where, for example, if they're able to like, okay, so I'm physically strong enough to kind of like push, pull, throw, whatever with a heavyweight, but then I've also got quick feet. Obviously, I need to maintain it, but quick feet, quick hands compared to heavyweight, so it makes it really difficult for them. I guess the reality is that when you're fighting against bigger men, it is what happens when it gets to round 8, 9, 10, and it's like it's like you're punching a heavy bag as opposed to just a normal bag. And I think also the shots are more expensive. So where, although I don't get caught too much, as you've seen in so many heavyweight fights, one shot can change it, and it generally is that. So the way that it's been with me is that I'm usually the guy who, if I land one shot, I could change the fight. Where now there's a sort of level playing field in terms of the danger factor because although they might not be pound for pound as hard a punch as someone's 260 pounds, it's going to hurt when they throw a punch. So yeah,
And from those
or land a punch.
heavyweights, sorry, from those heavyweights who you sparred, who impressed you the most?
Um, Moses Atuma probably did the most. A because I wasn't expecting it, and B because it was consistent. So I sparred a lot of heavyweights, and for me, like after a little while, like say we sparred 3, 4 times, it's like I get it. I know what to do now. Okay, watch out for this shot, watch out for that, land this, land that, and I kind of feel like I can adapt to them. Although that doesn't really translate for fights because you only get 12 rounds to do it. In sparring, I might do 50 rounds with someone. So by the 50th, the 36th round, I've got it. Yeah, this is exactly how I control everything going on here. But with Moses, it was like every spar that I'll bring something and he would change a little bit. He was good at making adjustments. So that's why I rated him because every spar, it's like I got to the point where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do this today, and I try it, and then it'll be a little bit successful, and then he'd make an adjustment for the next one. So I was always sort of kept on my toes in those ones. So yeah, him probably. Then obviously Joe Joyce, a few years ago, he obviously had an insane engine and was so big that it's like even if you're even if you know what you're supposed to do, it's still hard because he's throwing so many punches and working so hard, and he's a big guy. So those two probably, yeah. And then obviously but basically everyone has something good. Do you know what I mean? To get to the level of like pretty much everyone that I said, they all have to have something like exceptional about them. So yeah, all of them are good.
Now, one of the questions that Frank Warren fielded upon announcing your signing and your debut, of course, for them on the 7th of December at Magnificent Seven was your style and the critics who've criticised your style over the last few years. Now, to my eye, in the fight at Bridgerweight, where you won the title, although it didn't last very long, it seemed like you weren't looking to hold at all. I didn't see that happen once. In fact, he was looking to hold, unsurprisingly, considering the barrage he was facing. How much have you
Yeah.
worked on that with Joe in the gym, and do you continue to work on it now?
It's been one of the main things. Yeah, it's not even a case of don't hold with Joe. It's a case of do this instead. So we don't go with a sort of negative approach of like don't. It's more do this. Like when you're in this situation. So he's very good at like situationally. You're standing in the middle of the ring. The person's standing like you're both in this position. This is what you should be thinking about doing. You're in this position. This is what you should be thinking about doing. So it gives me different options, and as long as I'm in condition, you don't resort back to But when you're fit, which is what obviously he pushes for, it's like you're able. Cut long story short, it's a case of like me having options to do different things, like in different parts of the ring, where it's like, oh, the guy's on the ropes, I should do this, or he's stepping forward with a double jab, I should do that, or like it's kind of like, especially it's so weird because he's sort of broken down a lot of the sort of um like tendencies. So before you hold or before you this is what happens. So let's get rid of this first bit of the like. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's like
Yeah, so
someone
it's
might
sorting the
throw
problem out from the
a
root.
particular shot and the second shot. Yeah. So it's like okay, before it even gets to that point where you're actually there holding, do this. And if you do end up in a clinch or hold it, don't let it become repeat. Because it happens. Obviously, there's clinching in almost every fight, but just don't let it become okay again and again. Don't rinse and repeat that. Rinse and repeat other things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of like trying to demonstrate that or demonstrating it. December, it's yeah, it's gonna be good. Like we're gonna be like it's important. Like, it's important to me anyway. Sorry, I know I'm just thinking that,
No, no,
but
it's
it's
fine.
important to me to sort of get a KO in this fight. It's important because it's like as much as I know and I believe, and yeah, I've hurt heavyweights and I've done this and I've done, and I've I know I'm naturally a strong guy. It's like doing it when it matters, when someone's dead, and trying not to get knocked out. Let's see if I can get the KO. Do you know what I mean? Like winning this fight isn't really like I should be able to win this fight in my opinion with just boxing like I know we're similar height or he might be a bit taller than me but just with boxing jabs steps moves like just the sort of basic fundamentals of boxing I should be able to beat him but I think it's not enough to do a 10 round 12 round thing because I need to let heavyweights know when they get in there with me basically this is going to make it easier for me going forwards sorry
Mm.
to
No, that's
but
all right.
if I'm able to get a good knockout the next heavyweight unboxer is gonna look and be like, okay, he carried weight up to Bridger, he's knocked out this guy. Okay, maybe he has got a bit. So they're not just gonna think to themselves, let me just walk forwards. So you sort of get respect before you get in there instead of having to really obviously you still have to earn it in the ring, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, David Hay, I think, made his heavyweight debut while he was still campaigning at Cruiser, and it was over within a round. And I think that is like you said, it put a marker down for the heavyweights for the future.
Yeah, agreed. And like David obviously was a great puncher. I believe I'm a good puncher, and I have the potential to be a great puncher. I think it's more so the only thing that I've sort of, I think, what's the word? Like the thing that's sort of got in the way of my sort of punching is accuracy and also throwing the right punch. Where a lot of times I'm just thinking, okay, I've touched with the left, here comes a big right. Where it's like, hold on, like I don't just have punching power in that one shot. I have punching power in all sort of planes of like like a good left hook, a good right uppercut, a good left hook to the body, a good left up like so it's like I've got the punching power in all these different positions, but I'm not throwing those shots. So after a while, people just start doing this. Oh, hold on, I'll just block his straight right hand with my left hand. And then all of a sudden the power, quote unquote, or the ability to knock someone out is lost in the fact that it's only a straight right. So you've got to be able to generate power. So, for example, in my last fight, if you notice, it's like, okay, I landed a straight right, dropped him, he got back up, landed another straight right. Then he just started hands up. So then I had to slip an uppercut through. And then, it's just like, you got to look for different shots to find, as I said, the opening. So let's see.
And before we move on to talk about the heavyweight division, I just wanted to ask you split your time, of course, between the UK and Dubai. How challenging is that in terms of planning your fights and your training camps?
It depends really on if everyone's on the same page. Well, fortunately with the Warrens, they're now international you know, promotional company with international broadcasting. So, they can put a show on in England, they can put a show on in Dubai if they want, they can put a show on in Riyadh. So it's kind of everyone just has to align. I mean, Joe's out here now, training with me in the Middle East. So that's good that he's sort of had the time to think. I've got three sparring partners here now. So it's just like we're just working. And you know, fortunately, obviously this was a short notice sort of fight. So we made it work, but then God willing, I win this one. The next one you probably get 10 weeks, 12, like 8 weeks, like so you're able to sort of plan a lot more. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the top of the heavyweight division. As you noted earlier, you've sparred both AJ and Daniel Dubois. How surprised, if at all, were you by the result between the two of them?
I wasn't surprised. You know what it's like? It's like the only thing I can compare it to is like a gambling or coin toss or whatever else, where it's like I knew that both of them have got the power to stop the other one. Um, like one of them was going to win that fight convincingly. I wasn't sure which one it was going to be. And it happened to be Dan on the day. He started well and then just carried on like that. So I can only compare it to like having a three-sided coin where that kind of stoppage and whatever else is on the coin. But so when it lands on it, it's like, oh, okay, it wasn't the thing I thought 100% was going to happen, but it was possible. So yeah.
Do you think Joshua's team have made the right decision in not taking an immediate rematch?
Um, um, I guess time will tell, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? To answer that now, it's a bit tough because we don't know what's going to happen. But I kind of, like I said, I can only say time will tell because he's in a very different position to most boxers. So it is like for me, it's like okay, when I lost to Chris, I was like, get me, and then the others, whatever happened, it never happened. But then I ended up getting a Bridgerweight belt, and then now I'm ranked highly as a heavyweight. So it's like at the time, I was thinking, cut that weight one more time, go get that win, whatever else, and then it didn't end up happening. But then now I'm going a different route, and it's in theory a better route as long as I'm able to win December the 7th. So with AJ, yes, free weight world champion, a free time world champion, and so on and so forth is obviously the aim for him, I guess, and it's great. But then there's other routes to get there. Do you know what I mean? So it depends. If for example he doesn't take this rematch, if that's what the case, I don't know. But if he doesn't take the rematch immediately, but then he's able to box the winner of, say, Tyson Fury wins, and then he beat Tyson Fury, we'll look back and be like, oh, okay, well, yeah. So it's hard to say. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to say.
I mean, you're very likely not going to rematch Chris Billam-Smith now because you're at heavyweight, and all due respect to Chris, I'm not sure he has the frame to go up that high. Does that bother you in the same like, and will it bother AJ that if you never get the chance to avenge that defeat?
Not me. I can't speak for AJ, but for myself, with the way that my life has gone and going, and God willing continues to go, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like, is it like it doesn't really? I don't think about it on a day to day. Or when I see it, it's just like, oh, okay, he beat me in a boxing match, and then we've moved on. And it's like, although I obviously I do wish him success, like, do you know what I mean? Because it's always better when you've lost to someone and they keep winning, and it's like, okay, yeah, look. So that's one. But then in terms of getting the rematch, I don't think we ever will because the time to get the rematch was signed and this, that, and other, and then everything was done to not get the fight. So I don't see why it would happen at a later stage. And I've kind of made peace with that. And secondly, it's like if I'm able to win this fight, December 7th, win a major fight next after this one, like I think I could kind of just okay, yeah, that was my cruiserweight days. That was two weight classes ago. Now I'm a heavyweight, about to challenge for a world title, or I'm a world champion. So it kind of it won't really, yeah. Even now, like yeah, the answer is I'm kind of at peace with not ever avenging that loss. It just is what it is.
And before we move back to heavyweight, just briefly, how do you see CBS getting on against Zurdo Ramirez at the weekend?
I think Chris is gonna win quite convincingly. I think Zurdo is a light heavyweight that's moved up. Yes, he did well against Billam-Smith, but Billam-Smith had been out of the ring for a number of years before that fight, or whatever. Had maybe one fight in 3 years before that fight. Um, and yeah, like I said, he did well in that fight. But stylistically, Chris is very different to Billam-Smith in the sense that Chris is like sort of has made a sort of career as being a high level sort of workhorse in theory. So when you see the fight against myself, the fight against um what's that guy's name from Poland? I can't remember his name now, but the Polish
Master.
guy that he boxed, Masternak, yeah, Masternak, then the Red fight, you see like he's sort of able to graft and graft and graft and graft and graft. And like, yeah, there's some boxing behind it, don't get me wrong. But I just think that what's the name's not going to be able to be consistent enough with like outboxing him, in my opinion. I don't think Ramirez is going to be able to outbox him or outwork him because he's not a big enough cruiserweight to kind of outwork someone. Because you have to also be able to make someone tired. And I don't think he's big enough or relentless enough to sort of tire out someone like Chris, but time will tell.
And just getting back to the heavyweights, Daniel Dubois will make the second defense of his IBF title on February the 22nd. We know it's not going to be Anthony Joshua. The promoters have confirmed that. It's probably not going to be you, even if you make an incredible debut for Queensbury.
You reckon?
We've got
Oh, you never know.
the short space of time in between.
You
Who
never know. It depends. When are they announcing that fight? Do you know?
they said we probably hear this week, but
Oh,
obviously it's Tuesday now,
yeah.
so we'll,
Then it's
we'll
definitely
see.
gonna be me.
Yeah, it could still be you. Yeah, I mean, are you throwing your hat in the ring? Would you like it to be
Nah,
you?
if it's getting announced before the fight, then obviously not. But I was there thinking maybe, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, would you take that if they came to you with that after your fight and you had no niggles or cuts or anything?
Yeah, definitely. There's not a heavyweight fight that I wouldn't take. I don't move up to heavyweight to sort of play around. I could go in there to win a heavyweight world title, and that would be the quickest route. It would be to box Dan, but we'll see.
And with that in mind, without giving too much away about the sparring you've done with Dan in the past, is there enough there to give you confidence that you could go in and win that fight in February?
Yeah, I think both ways we'll both feel pretty confident in that fight. I think the spars were always. I don't know. You have to ask Shane because it's tough for me to like um even sort of understand that those particular spars. It was really good sparring. I think put it this way, I would be confident personally, but yeah, it's not that. Yeah, at the end of the day, he's a world champion, so
And if it's
you gotta wanna fight the world champions.
and if it's not you in February, a couple of the other names have been mentioned, Joseph Parker being one, Fabio Wardley being another. You've worked with Wardley. Seems like a big jump from where the level he's been fighting at. Is he ready for that in your view?
Yes. Funnily enough, I actually do. I actually do think he is. I think you would say he's like one or two fights away from it, but at the end of the day, he's been on a great run of form at domestic level. Having a great fight with Fraser, then obviously the emphatic stoppage, beating Adelaide, who's a good heavyweight. He's just been doing very well. So I think, okay, well, who do we want to see him beat first? Like maybe like you know, a Hergovich level or like um, Big Baby Miller or someone like that's been or near around world level in terms of like experience managing rounds. And then that, but then at the same time, I just think, well, why not? He's feeling extremely confident. Um, he's explosive. Like if I was in his situation, they offered me the fight, I would definitely take it. So, um, yes, it's a step up, but then at the same time, what's stopping him from landing a massive right hand and hurting Dan, for example, and then becoming like the crazy story of like a white collar fighter that beat an Olympic bronze medalist and then a world champion. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I think that'd be a good fight.
And Usyk and Fury get on again December the 21st. You've worked extensively with Fury, and it was a close fight the first time around. What does Tyson need to do to ensure he gets revenge in December?
I think just consistent training, um, a bit more spite, but that comes from obviously being able to train hard. So I think he'd be in great shape for this fight. Not that he wasn't in great shape for the last one, but I can't. When was his fight before the Usyk fight? Do you remember?
He'd been out for quite a while.
Has he been out? So it's either he's been out. I can't remember. I can't remember what I was thinking when I. But either way, I think no. Or he went out not too long before and he had a cut.
Oh, against
I could be wrong.
Ngannou.
And yes, and Garni. I can't remember the time
We got cut
difference
in. He
between.
got cut in
Oh no, he was in training
training
camp.
camp.
He
Yeah.
got cut in training camp. That's right. So I know from having a little cut, and I know from the Chris having a cut that it takes a while for cuts to heal, and even when they heal, you don't want to go straight and start taking punches. So how much sparring did he? I don't know. I'm not in his camp, so but I look at the overall picture and I say, yeah, this was the day, this was the performance. But what happens if he does a few more weeks of sparring? What happens if he gets a bit sharper? What happens if he gets a bit more nasty? For a close fight, I edge him to sort of be able to pick up the pieces and add to it. Because one thing about Usyk is consistent. He's as he said, regime. It's like the army or like whatever. It's every day this what you're gonna. So you know when it comes to the battlefield, this what you're gonna get. But then Fury has the potential to like maybe take it up an extra notch. In my opinion, hard to bet against Usyk. Um, but I just think if it means what I expect it to mean to Fury to get the rematch won, and it's not about money and da da da, and he's really just there trying to get the job done. I think he's got more levels to climb.
And before I let you go, I've taken up loads of your time. Tell us about life outside the ring and how that's going.
So, yeah, it's going well. In my opinion. So obviously for my what I wanted to sort of do out of life so far, obviously I'm still pushing and ambitious, but we kind of hit those markers in terms of like obviously the restaurant's doing very well, but it has to really mature itself for me to say that's a success. Let's just let it keep going. Obviously the supermarkets are also doing well. Just obviously family life has gone well, so I feel good and I still feel young and fresh, not taking too much damage. In there with the big boys these days, feeling good, feeling very, very robust. So I feel in a good place.
I recommended your book to my girlfriend last week, and she's going to start reading it. Any
Nice.
plans for a follow-up?
Okay, let me know. I think when I'm freeweight world champion, yeah, why not? Yeah, I think then I have the merit to say, dare to change your life twice again or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, I think with that, or when I retire, I think God willing enough, I'm able to win a third world title and a third world class, and despite as you said before, there's some negative. comments sometimes, and promotional this and blah 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 that. I'll be able to really get into the nitty gritties. Maybe not of like what's gone on legally, but like just this is what challenge you can face, and you can overcome.
Would you manage fighters in the future? You seem like you'd be cut out for that.
I might. No, I know is the answer. No, but I might. Obviously, my manager right now is also my business manager who helps with all of the stuff we're doing outside. So, and he's full time sort of managing me. But then in the future, yeah, well, I'll be able to help fighters. I wouldn't necessarily quote unquote manage them. But I could maybe alongside him do some stuff just out of passion. But I struggle because obviously everyone's got to get paid. Like my friend was on a 6-figure salary when I asked him to kind of leave and start training me. I'm not training me, managing me, but I just think it would only be a passion thing. I'd struggle to do it for money. That's the problem. Like, so it's a very time consuming. Um, and then I'll be struggling to say, yeah, could you give me this percent and that? I personally I would, because obviously I've been a boxer, and
Mm.
well, I would have been a boxer at that point. So would I know? But will I help boxers in the future? Definitely. But I think the way that I would help them is either like obviously with sort of sorting legal, like setting up some sort of legal entity or legal like helpline or whatever. And then secondly, I think it would be stuff like setting up life outside boxing. So I need to make sure that all the stuff I'm doing keeps on doing well. And then maybe some sort of, I don't know, like I want to say now, but I don't want to be held to it in case in 10 years I want to change my mind. But like some sort of like either heavily reduced management thing just to cover the cost of the people that are going to be doing the day to day, or like just being a sort of consultant like outside. Hey, if you want, here's a bit of help, but not like full on. But yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. Mate, really appreciate it. Always a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you back in the ring in a month's time.
All good. I'm looking forward to showing out.
Great stuff. Take care, mate. Speak
Thank
soon.
you. Cheers.
Bye.
Ta-da.